What is up, YouTube? So most people know me, my face, from being the founder of OddsJam, which is a sports data company that grew from $0 to an $160 million acquisition in just 3.5 years. I started my company OddsJam at 24, but I started my career as a quantitative trader. So I thought I would do a video because I've gotten the question from numerous people on Twitter and stuff like that. How did you go from some nerdy quant on Wall Street to becoming a startup founder? So let's kind of go through. I'm going to give you my full journey. I've always been somewhat good at math, and when I was in college, I really started to like gambling. So I started playing poker with my friends on Friday nights. We would drive to the casino. A lot of people would go out and party. I wanted to play poker. I loved the math, the strategy behind poker, the game theory. I enjoyed gambling. I enjoyed risking capital to possibly make some money. So ultimately, one of my friends told me, hey, you should consider applying to this trading firm called Susquehanna. They actually teach you poker at work. So Susquehanna International Group is one of the largest prop trading firms. It's a financial company, and they teach you poker because they think it helps you make better decisions as a trader. You're ultimately making decisions. You're deciding whether to buy or sell at a specific price under uncertain information. Like, as a poker player, you don't know what cards your opponent has. So if you decide to go all in with pocket kings, your opponent may have pocket aces. The future is kind of uncertain, but you're making decisions based on data, based on game theory, based on math. So I ultimately took my first job as a quantitative trader. I absolutely loved it. You are gambling other people's money all day long at work. You're going in to the office and you're making trades all day long with other people's money. It was an amazing job. I worked with really smart people and I became more and more obsessed with gambling. On weekends, I would go play poker with my friends. During work, I would gamble in financial markets. I was basically spending all my free time gambling. And then everything changed in 2018 when sports betting legalized in the United States. So in 2018, the Supreme Court basically overturned that gambling is illegal and said states can determine on a state-by-state basis if they decide to have sports betting or not. So Pennsylvania, where I was working, was one of the first states to legalize online sports betting. So a ton of sports books launched, like FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, all these major sports books, and it kind of became the talk of the office. A ton of people at Susquehanna, where I was working, they were gambling all day long in financial markets. They were traders. So unsurprisingly, they had an interest in sports betting. Can we actually beat these sports books? Can we beat FanDuel? These are really smart people, to be clear. Like, my boss at Susquehanna was a very great sports bettor, extremely profitable. And again, he was making tons of money trading in complex derivatives financial markets. So when he told me that he could beat FanDuel Sportsbook and beat DraftKings Sportsbook, I knew he wasn't lying. So I started to research sports betting. How can I actually make money and turn this into a side hustle like I was doing with poker? So I spent a ton of time researching how do pros make money? How do sharps make money? I wasn't interested in the BS like, oh, just buy my picks and you're guaranteed to win. I wasn't interested in that. I was a quant trader. I was interested in how are people actually winning with data, because I knew any BS, which is just, oh, Lakers are a lock, I knew that was absolute BS. So I was focused on data-driven strategies. How are syndicates, hedge funds making money with sports betting? And I realized that there were certain strategies that you could implement. So for example, I started gambling with arbitrage. Arbitrage is a very simple strategy. It's basically because all sportsbooks set their own unique odds and the market is extremely fragmented. Arbitrage just means when two sportsbooks, maybe FanDuel and DraftKings, have such different odds, such different prices, that you can play equal and opposite outcomes, bet the over on FanDuel as an example, bet the under on DraftKings, and guarantee a risk-free profit. So you're basically day trading the books to guarantee a profit. So I'd heard of the word arbitrage in work, right? It's a financial term. People talk about crypto arbitrage. In very inefficient markets, arbitrage can oftentimes make money. So I decided to give it a try in sports betting, and because hundreds of sports books had launched in the US and they were all setting their own unique prices, I noticed that there were tons of arbitrage opportunities. It was absolutely insane. But the problem was I had to search for them manually. There wasn't software to identify arbitrage bets. So I was looking for these opportunities. I would have up 20 different browsers, and I would be searching through games after injury alerts and looking for arbitrage bets manually. So I started to think, I wonder if I can build a little scraper, a little software that could point out these arbitrage bets for me. So that's what I started to work on. I ultimately built like a minimum viable product to help myself just personally make more money sports betting. I was a nerdy, data-driven sports bettor, so I built my own software, and then I started to get my betting limits cut down from sports books. So unfortunately, sports books don't like winners. If you're making a ton of money on a sports book, they'll cut you down. If you make 20 grand, $20,000 on DraftKings Sportsbook, that means that you lost DraftKings, the company, $20,000. So like any business, unfortunately, they're gonna slash your bet sizes. So instead of being able to bet $5,000 on every DraftKings play, they started limiting me to $500 per play, then $50 per play. So I kind of realized, hey, sports betting, I'm actually finding ways to use technology to beat the sports books, but this isn't scalable. I mean, these sports books are slashing my bet sizes, sometimes even as low as like $5, $10. This isn't something that's gonna help me quit my job or retire. I really love sports. I've always loved sports. I played sports growing up. I enjoyed sports betting, but I realized that, hey, betting on sports myself, it's not like I'm gonna be able to retire from this. So I started to think about, I wonder if there's other people, if I can actually help them make money sports betting. I wonder if there's people who would be interested in paying for my product. And that ultimately was the genesis for OddsJam. I'd never done a YouTube video. I'd never done an Instagram reel. I'd never done a TikTok. But once I decided to quit my job and go all in on OddsJam, because I loved sports betting so much. I love sports. I love gambling so much. It is literally my passion. It gets me up every single day excited. But I realized that all of these sports books over the course of time, as I make more and more money, they're gonna start to limit my bet sizes. Some books may limit me at $200,000 profit. Some books at $10,000 profit. But regardless, this isn't scalable. So that's why I ultimately decided to quit my job and build OddsJam. And then once I quit my job and I didn't have an income stream and still was basically a broke college kid, I had to make OddsJam work. So I didn't really want to do a YouTube video, if I'm being completely honest. I'd never recorded one piece of content in my life, but I realized it was important to helping my business succeed. So I started to make YouTube videos about, hey guys, I have this new site called OddsJam. I make a ton of money sports betting. Unfortunately, my betting limits have been slashed on a lot of these books, but here's how you use the software, and here's how you can actually use it to make profits. Literally, with arbitrage, the OddsJam arbitrage tool, you can make risk-free, guaranteed profits off the sports books. So I started to make content, and ultimately OddsJam started to grow. We started to build new features, and from there, kind of the rest is history. We just focused on building the best possible sports betting tools and bringing the best data into sports betting, focused on the customer. What do our customers want? And OddsJam continued to grow month after month. So it's really that simple. I focused on a problem I had personally, which was finding profitable bets, and then we built it into a software and ultimately monetized it. It's not that crazy. As an entrepreneur, you're ultimately solving a customer pain point. You are basically helping people save time or make more money. That's what you're doing as an entrepreneur, and that's what I did with OddsJam. I realized there's so many sports books now in the US, there's really no good softwares that point out line discrepancies in real time, that highlight what books are offering the best odds, the best prices. So we ultimately just built that into a software and started selling it. And really the journey is that simple. It's not that complicated. If you build something that people love, that ultimately helps solve a problem for them. So in the case of OddsJam, helping sports bettors see data, people will pay for it. And that will help you build a great business. And then you just kind of need to listen to your customers and continue to expand. So that's kind of my journey from nerdy quant trader into the startup world. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, comment them below. I love making content about trading, about sports betting, about entrepreneurship. And this video kind of wove together all those different things. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, thank you guys so much for your time.